So, since the last episode, it's been about a month and $650 later. Let me explain to you what happened. We had some drive shaft drama, okay? So, the rear drive shaft right here, if you recall from that last bit, was 29 inches from weld to weld. Now, if you see here, it's only 27. All right, so had to get that shortened. After I swapped the yoke, it was indeed, even though with the lift, it was 2 inches too long. Okay, so the back of the drive shaft would not fit into the yoke coming off the differential, so I had to get it shortened. All right, so went to my local driveline guy, chopped off 2 inches off of it, and put it back on and had it rebalanced, so it's good to go. We'll see it fit in there here in a little bit. Huge problem that I discovered when I was trying to, you remember that scene where I was trying to put the old drive shaft back on the front? Well, it turned out that the entire ball joint and everything in here was completely destroyed. So I had to get this replaced. Again, chop, put on a double cardon on there, and should be good to go. We'll see here in a little bit. Another problem arose when they tried to balance it, and it turned out that the other head, and this is from this is the Carolina Driveline thing, had a little wiggle in it. So the splines that are in here, hard to do, but the splines that are in here had a little play. So as he was running it on the lathe to balance, the teeth in here weren't completely mated properly with the inside gearing of this tube, but the teeth in here weren't meshing, so there was a little kind of play thing going on, which made the balancing process where he spins it on a lathe next to impossible. So had to chop this off, get a new piece, all right, to which he was able to rebalance. So we're gonna go ahead, so basically this is a completely new front drive shaft, all right, and the rear drive shaft, which was the stock one from the V8, is now shortened with the 32 spline slip yoke to fit underneath with that longer cone at the back of the 242 AMG. So we're going to go ahead and install these, and hopefully they will fit. Alright, front drive shaft first. Why? Because I can put the front transfer case, or I should say I can put the transfer case in neutral and spin the teeth wherever I need it to be. There it goes, bam. Right. U-bolts, these are ugly, but hey. I'm gonna slap a little blue Loctite on there. Alright, lock washer, nuts, 13 millimeter, and it's pretty tight up in here if you recall from when I did the initial install of this thing back a couple years ago. So you gotta use a wrench. Alright you guys, let me get these on and tightened, and then I will get right back to you. Okay guys, one huge factor with drive shafts, alright, which I think contributed to the transfer case failure, is pinion angle. Okay, so this angle here at the front of the drive shaft and the angle in back have to be the same. There's this really interesting video that demonstrates what happens to the drive shaft if the pinion angle is not the same as the input and output of the shafts, okay? It's what contributes to death wobble. They have to be at the same angle, alright? So what you can do is you can get one of these high-speed measurement things. I'll have a link to it down below where I got mine. And what you do is you just find the straight part of the shaft, and for my differential here in the front of the Jeep, it's at the bottom. You don't have to use it, but like this has a magnet on the bottom of it, so I just stick it on there, you know, in the direction of the shaft, and measure from 0 how off, you know, what is straight up and down, what is plumb, right? And that's what the needle indicates. And right now this thing is reading minus 5.5 degrees. Okay, so my pinion angle for this front differential, right, is 5.5 degrees. That's the angle of the shaft affecting the drive shaft. Now this angle of the shaft itself doesn't matter. What matters is what the angle of the flange is that's driving this. Okay, back at the transfer case front flange, and what I've done is I've made sure that the transfer case is in neutral, right? That way when I extend this out, right, I can pull it out and then I can rotate this to meet any angle that the U-joint is at, okay? But first, we're going to do the pinion angle of this flange, right? So we've got our little measuring device here, and here's a flat surface down here. I hope the framing supports where I'm at, right? So I can just set this. It doesn't have to be the magnetic side, but that's, so I said that the other one, right, this should be hopefully the same straight angle right here as the flange is. But here's already the difference. The last one, right, was at, in the front, was negative 5.5 degrees, and this is clearly negative 10 degrees. Keep in mind, note to self, once I've got this on here, I have to take this to the shop to get the pinion angle adjusted in the front. Okay, so for right now, we're just going to reattach the back thing and just pull it out. And drop this in here. Boom, boom. Dab a blue. And then in the hole. 12.8 millimeter. Alright, so as soon as I get all these things seated down and torqued, I will be right back with you. Now for the rear. Like a glove. Back out. And that's it. So you saw, it went in that far. That's bottomed out there. Right? And then as I seat the U-joint in the back, it pulls out, and that's seated. So that mark right there, that's less than 1 inch, alright, of being all the way in. So it's still engaged like this, and it has room to slide, still slide in that 3/4 of an inch, and slide out some more. As the suspension moves up and down, this is going to go in and out, etc., etc. Slip that in there like that. Get that on there. Alright, now I have measured the pinion angle on the rear differential And the transfer case output shaft, that I did do. And they are both even. So that's good. Alright, remember when I opened this thing and we had that cavity where the speedo went? Well, they sent me a cap, okay? So for the WJ, the speedometer is controlled by, or the speedometer input to the PCM is given by the transmission itself. There are two electrodes in the transmission itself. Unlike the XJ, who use the 242, here I identified that there was gearing inside here. As that moved, it had another gear that went in this hole, right, that generated a pulse that went out to the PCM for the XJ. Anyway, they sent me a cap. It's plugged, it's hard, packed in here. I'm just wrapping this up here, locking it in there with the 13 millimeter. Assembly is complete. I'm going to go ahead and fill it up real quick with 2 quarts. Calls for 2 quarts ATF. Alright, or like last time, fill it up till it starts spilling out. Then you know you got enough. Alright, let me get on that. Alright, hey you guys, so we're out here on our way out to Coyote Flats around Bishop, and it's kind of like a final check on the transfer case to see how it does in the actual field. So right now we're heading up 395 and we're going to go to Bishop and then turn south from there up to a place in the High Sierra called Coyote Flats. And you can see Tracer is up to his normal self. So yeah, we're gonna do some guy time too. A little bit of camping, a little bit of jeeping, and put the new transfer case through its paces. So we start going up the trail, I will get right back to you. Okay, so I have aired the tires down to 20 psi, and you can see I'm doing about 32 miles per hour, and it's taking about 1800 RPM to maintain that. But I'm going up this hill. And of course, as the terrain is getting steeper, the more RPMs. But I'm not really experiencing any issues so far with the transfer case, so I'm pretty stoked. It's gotten us all the way up here. We've done about close to 200 miles to get up here, and now we're actually hitting on the trail to get up to our campsite. So we're starting the off-road portion. So this is a fairly, it's not flat, I mean we're climbing definitely, but it's a fairly benign trail. So once we start when we start climbing, I'll get back with you. Okay, so we're starting our climb. So what I'm gonna do, just to check it out, because it's not really necessary, but I'm gonna change the transfer case now. And with the H1 transfer case, Humvee stuff, you gotta go to neutral first. Going into 4 lock now. And the reason why, I drove Humvees for so many years, I just want to make sure, I wanted see how it is different steering wise, because whenever you put the locker on, steering was a challenge. So I wanted to see how that is up here. We've got some switchbacks going up here, and even though we're in high lock, which is all 4 locked, I'm not having to speed. There's some whoop-de-doos coming up, so there's no, you know, I'm definitely not running up this hill, but like as so big curve there, and I'm not having any steering issues at all. I'm still able to bring the axles around, so that's good. I thought it would be way stiffer, way more stiff with the locker in HL high lock, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so here where it's pretty challenging, it's a pretty steep climb. High lock is working like a charm. I'm not really pushing it. And when I say pushing it, I mean pushing it for speed. Okay, I'm gonna go back to okay, so now I'm back in high, not high lock. It should still be working all 4 tires because it's all-wheel drive, but now the lockers aren't in there. We got some quad guys coming down. Friendly on the trail. But I'm noticing now with just the without the lock that I'm experiencing more slip, I guess you could say, and you can hear it. The tires are slipping as the transfer case is managing the power slip like a normal all-wheel drive would, instead of having the lockers, which are, you know, making all the axles work equally. All right, I'm gonna hold up here, and I'm gonna try 4 lock or low lock now. Back in neutral for this. That's neutral. 4 lock. And let's see how this works. Whoa, like instant power. Like tires completely stop slipping. The only reason why it's slipping is because I'm stepping on rocks and the tires are pushing the rocks underneath the vehicle. And yeah, the steering is binding a little bit more now. It's just harder to rotate the steering wheel. So that's interesting. For the view, huh? I hope I capture this with this. I mean, this is 4K, but it is a GoPro, so the view is super wide, and you're probably not going to appreciate it like I am with my normal vision. But what a vista! All right, I'm going to go back to HL High Lock, just because it seems to be working more efficiently. The low lock, or 4 low, it's locking, it's working, but it seems to be more stressful. I don't know if that's the right word on the system. So back from drive to neutral. Now on the normal 242s, the 242Js, they have the lever where you push down to get into neutral. Here I'm using the old, this is the Quadra-Track 2 shifter with the 242 AMG off of an H1 or a Humvee. And so the requirement, it's a different mechanism, you don't got to push down, but neutral, it does light the little light, so that's cool. And then right there, that's high, that's the normal all-wheel drive. And then right there, that's HL or high lock, which is a little where you can kind of go faster, but it's gonna lock. Oh, here comes somebody. But it's gonna lock all 4 wheels, and it's gonna provide power equally. And if I am totally jacking this up and you're in the know, comment below and let me know where I'm slipping up on my descriptions here. I'm just going off of what I read, and when I was an OC before I retired from the Army, we did extensive Humvee driving. So yeah, but if you want to fix some information, just comment below. Everyone would really appreciate it, and so would I. So thanks. Still in high lock climbing. One of the things I remembered was that you should not have to stop and go to neutral between high and high lock. And I've been trying it on some of these flat sections, and it does seem to work, but it doesn't, like, there's no positive lock, like ka-chunk into the high lock from high. So, I mean, I'm still able to apply power through the gas pedal, but I can't tell how, you know, in the gear it is. You know, is it locked into the gear properly, positively, when I do that on the fly. So, like right now, there I'm on, that's high right there. And then as we're gonna climb this monster, so I'm still rolling, right? And then, yeah, throw it in there to the high lock. And we're still rolling, so apparently it works. It works! But we're getting up this in high lock, we're getting up this monster like it ain't nothing. Kudos to the engineers, stuff works. You're seeing all dashboard because we're climbing. Just one admin note, if you're coming to Coyote Flats from way lower elevations like LA or whatever, if you come up here too fast, you might experience elevation sickness. So look at this, the hills that we're doing, man. I mean, monster hills. I'm still all the way forward in high lock. Okay, some slippery rocks here with the dust. Like Spidey hands. Should be in all-wheel drive right now, not locked. So the all-wheel drive is working. This is just an all-wheel drive, the same as the 247 transfer case. And it's fine, but I'm telling you, it just, the high lock feels more powerful because it's not doing its limited slip thing. So, pow, back to high lock. And it's like instant power. There's a difference between how it feels climbing. Because all you do on this trail is climb, climb, climb. Honk, honk, and this is why we do it right here. Watch this. Right there. But there's something even better. why we come up here.